Yo everybody, what's going on? This is Keegan from Kman Reviews. If you enjoyed this review, make sure you hit that like and the subscribe button, and if you have any opinions at all that you would like to share, make sure to leave them down in the comment section. Calvin Harris, Wav Bounces, Volume 2. Calvin Harris is a Scottish singer, songwriter, and producer, one of the most popular electronic producers of the 2010s. Several chart-topping singles, been a pretty strong household name over the course of the past decade. But before his last album was released, Wav Bounces Volume 1, he expressed his interest with the electronic genre and has transitioned into some more pop, funky material, which I really liked on that album. And after much speculation and hype, the sequel to that album is here 5 years later, appropriately titled Wav Bounces Volume 2. And let's just dive right in. What are my thoughts on this album? Let's find out as I review it track by track. We will start with the singles, with there being 4 of them. The first being Potion with Dua Lipa and Young Thug, which may not be the most epic, room-shaking banger I'd expect from a debut single, but man, this track is suave, smooth, sexy, and maybe other synonyms starting with S. It kicks off with this crackly, compressed guitar, reminds me of a Santana riff, but then the song mellows out into a funk pop groove with a bubbly bass, polished percussion, and sparkly synth work. Dua's presence on the track is good, but man, Young Thug's verse over this is amazing. Easily my favorite part of the track. Great song, and a good single choice. The second single, New Money featuring 21 Savage, is an okay song, but it feels a bit too slow and plodding for me. I like hearing 21 Savage over this funkier, synth-heavy beat, especially since I think he's been only getting better throughout his career. But man, this song just kind of feels like a regression in that case, as he comes off very snotty and nasally in his performance. Not the best he's given at all, just kind of a whatever track. DJ Khaled could have made a better banger with 21 Savage, just saying. The third single, Stay With Me, featuring Justin Timberlake, Halsey, and Pharrell Williams, is the first true instance of a pop banger, and I love this one. This perky percussion, soulful guitar work, and the bouncy bass, it's just such a blissful song. I kind of wish all the features blended together a bit more though. They do occasionally, like on the refrain with JT and Halsey, but when one comes up, there's a hard wall separating it from the previous or the next one, but they all still give a solid enough performance, so I can't complain about that too much, especially Pharrell. I love his voice for the pre-chorus. Very fun track, one of my favorites. And the fourth and final single, New to You, featuring Normani, Tinashe, and Offset, which opens up with an amazingly lush and gorgeous string arrangement with another funky percussive beat, and right as soon as I heard this, I had a strong feeling this track was going to be great, and it is. Even at 5 minutes long, the track manages to remain fresh and catchy. Normani and Tinashe trading verses back to each other is perfect, their chemistry is impeccable, and I have not heard Offset this into a song in at least a few years. Very good track. Now for the rest of the songs. Opener Intro is a light, shimmering synth instrumental to kick off the album, bit soulful, bit dreamy. It's decent for what it does, even if I do think it should have transitioned into New Money, but whatever. Woman of the Year featuring Stefflon Don, Chloe, and Coi Leray is an R&B, sexy, funky banger. The vibe is very sensual with the delicate guitar work really shining behind the gorgeous bass and percussion. Stefflon Don handles the hook, and she adds a bit of fire to the otherwise smooth song with her delivery. Chloe's verse is nice too. I especially like how the instrumental breaks down just for the beginning of it, leaving just a shadowy beat. But Coi Leray delivers one of the best performances I've ever heard from her. Would have loved for one of the hooks to round out the song, but just trailing off with the beat worked well enough. Very good song here. Obsessed with Charlie Puth and Shenseea seems like it was made much more for Shenseea because she does a phenomenal job on this dancehall flavored beat with her slightly gruff, mostly melodious charisma. Very disappointed with Charlie Puth though. He seems to be trying to sing in a lower key than he's accustomed to, and it sounds so off for him, which I don't even think needed to be done. The piano is just bright enough that he could have probably sang normally and did a better job. The way he sings on his verse, like he has some gunk in his throat he didn't clear out before recording, it honestly just ruins the song. No thank you. Ready or Not featuring Busta Rhymes is probably one of the most clunky features on the entire album, plain and simple. This is just not Busta's sound at all. Hearing his gritty, blunt, and dominant delivery over this sweet, piano-driven, breezy electronic instrumental, it almost comes off like a joke. That being said, Busta does well enough with what he's given. He's still very smooth over this beat and gives the listener a captivating and lyrically dense performance. A lot of braggadocio infused in there too. But man, this track just feels wrong, like I'm listening to one of those cursed mashup videos on YouTube. It's not bad per se, it's just weird. Stay With Me Part 2, again featuring Justin Timberlake, Halsey, and Pharrell Williams, which transitions nicely from the original Stay With Me, and is an overall solid coda to the song. What baffles me, though, is why it's its own song. It didn't need to be. That's all I have to say about it, though, just a way to fatten up the track list, I guess. Somebody Else featuring Georgia Smith and Lil Durk instantly gets on my good list due to its slap bass being the main melody of the song. I love slap bass, and this being used over the slower, funkier percussion makes for an instant vibe. Georgia Smith's more breathy delivery is a nice touch, and even though I think Lil Durk's verse feels a bit syllabically cramped, his scratchy delivery still manages to work well. The lyrics here are pretty honest and personal, a bit of a stark contrast compared to the fatuousness of the earlier songs, but with a vibe this good, I'm not one to complain. Nothing More to Say featuring Black and Deneo may just be one of the most carefree, breezy songs on the entire album. These sunny piano keys, rupturing bass, lovely harmonious synths, all these attributes perfectly cater to Black's more easygoing vibe, and the song exudes a powerful and effortlessly free energy to it. Deneo comes off like a more raspy and clear version of Shaggy, which I'm not complaining, but it's a very sudden course correction to the already paved path of the song to take, but it's definitely a highlight for me. Live My Best Life featuring Snoop Dogg and Lotto really feels like it should have been an opener, as Snoop kicks off the track with a pseudo-introduction in his typical charming charisma that I can't really hate. What I don't really like, though, is Snoop's subsequent performance. He's had a bad habit over the past year or so of horribly phoned-in features. This is definitely one of his more fleshed-out features, which is nice, but I don't care for his singing voice too much. A bit overly sappy, and in a way hilarious, but more cringy hilarious over this piano-centered R&B beat. Lotto does a similar thing, but she focuses a bit more on the rapping, but at least she can sing and demonstrates such on this track, so the song isn't completely awkward, just not really a favorite of mine. Lean On Me featuring Sway Lee is probably the weakest cut on the album. I just flat out don't like this one. It's not well done. Sway Lee's presence on the track is so clunky and ham-fisted. His more rap-focused flow is very jarring when paired with the breezy, acoustically driven song. He does not mesh well with the style, and this staticky, crunchy guitar solo only hinders the song even though I love solos. Yeah, hard pass here. And finally, the closer Day One featuring Pharrell Williams and Pusha T is another breezy vibe to finish the album, and it's pretty solid. The bass really ruptures and rumbles in the mix against the softer, pluckier guitar work. Thankfully, Pharrell ends the losing streak of performances so far, which isn't a surprise. I always think he does pretty well over this sunnier take on funk. Push is probably one of the best rap features on here, very smooth delivery and complements Pharrell well. It just feels a bit odd to have this track, which doesn't feel much different from the rest of the album as the closer is all. Overall, hands down this album is weaker than Volume 1 for a few reasons. The features aren't as consistent, the energy is just overall dialed down, and it almost feels a bit bloated. Let me put it like this. If Volume 1 is this lively, spirited club experience, everyone dancing, truly the time of your life, then Volume 2 is a late-night beach party on the shore. Both good, hell, you may even prefer the latter in some cases, but at least for me, I prefer the explosive energy of the former, and by the end of the beach party, I started to get a bit tired of the style and scenery. I'm feeling a 6 out of 10 on this album. Well guys, hope you enjoyed that review. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.